Hello dear students, I am Dr.S. Pagar, Associate Professor, Department of Geography. Dear student, I welcome all of you in this online lecture series on behalf of Maratha Vidya Prasar Samajas, CARE-Arts, BH Commerce and AM Science, popularly known as KTHM College Nasik. Dear student, this is our S.Y.B.Sc class, semester 3rd, Geography paper 1st, that is Environmental Geography part 1st. Dear student, this is our lecture number 33 of this subject, and in this lecture we are going to discuss our chapter number 4, that is specific environmental issues in India, and we have a subtopic of this chapter. First subtopic, that is energy crisis in India, impact and the remedial measures. Dear student, in our earlier lecture we had finished our chapter number 3 and its last point, that is effects and measures to control nuclear pollution, that we are also covered in that lecture. Dear student, today we will start with our core chapter, that is specific issues in India. So let's get started with our today's point, that is energy crisis in India, impact and remedial measures. Dear student, you know that energy is the ability to do the work. In detail, we can able to define the term energy. Energy is the capacity to do work and is required for life processes. Dear student, the energy crisis is a broad and complex topic. Load shedding is one of the serious problems that you observe all part of the India. Since the mid 1970s, the India has faced numerous energy crises everywhere in all part of the India. Development in each sector of the economy leads the demand for energy faster than the supply of energy. Therefore, student, this demand supply gap indicate the growing energy crisis in India, and therefore you will observe that all part of the India, each and every state, this problem is becoming very serious. There is a more demand for electricity, for the energy, whereas the supply done by the various sector, it may be private sector or it may be the government sector, is less than expected energy. So therefore, there is an increasing gap between demand and supply of energy. Therefore, when this gap is increased, that create the problem of energy crisis. So let's start. What do you mean by energy crisis with its definition? Dear student, an energy crisis is any significant bottleneck or price rise in the supply of the energy to an economy. If you are not getting electrical supply at home 24/7, it means 24 hours in 7 days. Whatever may be the condition is called energy crisis. It means what? If you are not able to get continuous electrical supply at your home, it means 24 hours in week. It means every day, if you are not able to get electrical supply, then this condition is called as energy crisis. One scientific definition of energy crisis is the actual demand of energy available is significantly less than predicted, then it is called an energy crisis. Other one important definition about energy crisis is when there is a scarcity of conventional resources of energy like coal, petroleum, natural gas and so many, then it is referred as an energy crisis. Means all these definition of energy crisis indicate that when there is a less supply of the energy than our expectation, and when this gap between supply and demand is increased, that time this condition is arise. This condition is come to exist. That condition is known as energy crisis. Let's discuss what are the main reasons or the causes that are responsible for energy crisis in India. First, very important reason, that is overconsumption. Dear student, this is the very important cause about the energy crisis that we face in India. Overconsumption with increasing technology and the work consumption of energy is increasing day by day, and therefore this lead to energy crisis in India. Second important reason or the cause of energy crisis in India, that's overpopulation. As you know, student, as birth rate is continuously increased, which lead to a rapid population growth, and this population consume a lot of energy, and that energy, when the energy consumption is increased, that time energy crisis is observed. Third important reason of the energy crisis in India, that is poor infrastructure. Dear student, this is a very important reason of energy crisis in India. Due to the poor infrastructure in remote villages, energy crisis can be observed. The next one, the reason of energy crisis in India, that is unexplored renewable energy option. Dear student, you know that renewable energy resources such as solar energy, wind energy, tidal energy, and so many other renewable energy helps in generating energy. But as some renewable energy resources are not discovered or identified, due to which energy crisis can be observed in India. Next one is also very important reason of energy crisis, that is wastage of energy. Yes, student, this is also very important. Some people unnecessarily consume a lot of energy, and this lead to energy crisis in India. So therefore, the careless behavior of the human being, especially in India, due to their careless behavior, this type of the condition is arise in India. Next one is poor infrastructure. Yes, student, this is also very important. Especially I am talking about the when the infrastructure is not properly developed in any reason, that time when there is any obstacle, it may be due to some natural calamity or maybe some other reason. When this disturb, if we don't have the sufficient or the option infrastructure or the distribution system, then definitely it creates the problem. And when any reason we have, especially I am talking about the rural part of India, we have a very poor distribution system, and then in that condition we observe that energy crisis is a very intense problem that you observe. Then we have the major accident and the natural calamity. Just I mentioned that due to the natural calamities like a flood, earthquake, volcanoes, landslide, or heavy rain, so in such condition, that time the whole the distribution system of energy, or you can say the electricity, is totally collapsed. And during that period, when we are not able to repair or the continuous that system properly, then we observe the energy crisis, particularly in that area. Especially such type this reason is we observe, especially in the rainy season, we observe due to this reason the energy crisis arise in most part of the India. Dear student, the other numbers of the reason are, for example, strike, political event, severe hot summers or the cold winters can be cause a sudden increase in demand for energy and can be chopped supply. Therefore, when the supply is less than our demand, definitely during that period also, in that condition also, the energy crisis arise. Therefore, these are the very important reasons that are responsible for to create the energy crisis condition in India. Dear student, let's discuss some impact of the energy crisis that we observe in India. The first is there is a global warming. This is a very important impact that we observe due to the energy crisis. Due to energy crisis, we produce energy by burning non-renewable fossil fuel. And when we burning this type of the fossil fuel, that time it is responsible to create the lot of pollution in that particular area. But principally the burning of the fossil fuel release greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, carbon monoxide, and other. And these all gases are responsible for the creating the global warming condition in that area. Therefore, this is a very important reason that this is a very important impact that we observe due to the energy crisis in India. Dear students, These gases create the blanket on the Earth's surface, which prevent a release of the short rays of the sun by night, and therefore this condition is responsible for creating global warming in India. So dear student, thus energy crisis facilitated making the Earth a warmer place by promoting global warming. This is the first very important impact that you observe due to the energy crisis. Second is also important, that is increasing price of the fuel energy. With every passing day, the demand for this fuel increases daily, while there are available quantity decrease every day, and that creates the problem. This leads an immense increase in the price of the fossil fuel, causing the price to increase day in and day out. Therefore, this is also so when such type of the energy crisis condition is observed, and that time we observe definitely the price of the fuel increase during that particular period. So this is also important impact that we observe due to the energy crisis. And one thing is very important: when such type of the condition arise, that time this create a huge economic disturbance across the country, and that impact on our whole economy negatively. Next one is impact of the energy crisis is the effect on the tourism industry. This is also very important. You know that, student, the tourism industry is largely depends on the rise and fall of the fuel prices. It may be the fuel prices like a petrol, diesel, and other that are part of the energy. With the increasing in the fuel prices, there is increase in the cost of tourism as well. And when the cost of tourism is increased, that time that negatively impact on development and the demand of the tourism. As a result, there are many who cannot be afford the same. You know that, student, when the price of tourism is increased, that time people are not able to afford this tourism facility. Therefore, when the price of fuel is increased or there is a crisis of the energy crisis, then definitely it is going to impact negatively on tourism industry. Therefore, this is also important impact that we observe due to the energy crisis. Then we have the political disturbance. Dear student, in some area there is a lack of energy, due to which political party come ahead for proper energy supply. The political rally create socio-economic disturbance in that particular area. Therefore, this is also important impact that you observe due to the energy crisis. Then other some impact is also important that are result of the energy crisis. It may be like a impact on the industrial growth. Yes, dear student, you know that the supply of the energy and the electricity is very important for industrial growth, because each and every company, or you can say the various machinery, require the continuous supply of the energy. But when there is the energy crisis, then we are not able to provide the proper continuous energy to the industry, then definitely it directly impact on the decrease of their production. And same condition we observe with respect to the agriculture, because agriculture require irrigation, and again for irrigation, for the electricity is very important. The energy is very important. If there is a not proper supply to provide the irrigation to agriculture, then definitely it impact on its production, means agriculture production. So therefore, this is a very important, both impacts are very important. Negatively we observe due to the that energy crisis that you observe in India. So it means what? The numbers of things that directly or indirectly impact on the energy. This is the impact of the energy crisis that you observe. Dear student, you know that in our day-to-day life, energy is become a big part of it. So it avoid energy crisis, we should take certain measures. Today we will see some of important measures to reduce and solve energy crisis. The first that is very important, that measures taken to improve the fuel efficiency in the transport and in other industrial sector for the conservation of energy. This is a very important. You know that, student, the fuel efficiency is very important. If you are able to improve this fuel efficiency, the specific, I'm talking about the transport sector and industrial sector, then definitely we can able to minimize the intensity of energy crisis. Therefore, this is a very important measure to control the energy crisis. Then second important is effort have been given on the development and the utilization of new and renewable sources of energy. A variety of new technologies such as improved solars, biogas plants, windmills, and small hydro plants have been developed. And if we can able to do this all things, definitely we can able to minimize the intensity of energy crisis that we observe in India. Next one is also an important measure to control the energy crisis. Government must encouraging private sector investment in the power generating scheme. You know that, student, if we able to produce lot of energy by investing a private sector capital, then definitely it will help to government project or the government's plan to provide continuously, regularly demand of the, or you can say the continuously supply of the electricity or the energy to the people. But for that purpose, it is very important that private sector should invest money or the capital in power generation scheme. Then definitely it will be reduce the gap between demand and supply. Next one is also important, that is use less in. That is very important, dear student. We are using a lot of energy. If you try to make purposely, you try to make less use of energy in our regular life, then definitely it can reduce the demand of the energy. Therefore, this is also very important measure that we require. As personal level, we can apply. We try to reduce the use of energy whenever it is possible, or as our purposely we have to do the effort to minimize use the less energy. Then we have improve the energy infrastructure. That is also important. Especially I'm talking about the remote area and the rural area. In that area, the improvement in the energy infrastructure is very important. If we able to improve this infrastructure, definitely this intensity of the energy crisis will be minimized in the remote and the rural area. Then the next important measure is save energy where is possible. This is a very important thing. At personal level, each and every citizen of India can be apply these measures to control the intensity of the energy crisis. Rely less on the fossil fuel. This is also very important, and definitely the use of the lot of fossil fuel is create the pollution and the global warming also. The both things we can avoid by using this type of the measures. Switch to renewable energy. This is also very important. Renewable energy is a good option to minimize the intensity of energy crisis that we observe in India. Especially I'm talking about we have lot of school to produce the solar energy, tidal energy, hydroelectricity or wind energy. Definitely we have to encourage this type of the energy sources in India. If we can able to do this, definitely we can able to minimize the intensity of energy crisis in India. Dear student, then we have another important thing. Take public transport. Definitely we have to use the local, or we can say the ST bus or the city bus whenever it possible. And if you use the public transport, definitely we can reduce the use of energy or use of fuels. So for that purpose, we have to change our we have to change our mind. We have to try to purposely we have to use the public transport whenever it possible. And we also request to the other people, our friend, our relative, try to use public transport whenever it is possible. So in this respect, if we want to reduce, the intensity of the energy crisis, definitely these things will be help a lot. The campaign to improve the awareness of the energy crisis is very important. For that purpose, educate the other about the energy crisis. This is very important thing. If the people know what are the negative impact of energy crisis that we are facing in India. Definitely, if they are aware about this problem, then definitely they can purposely do the various measures to minimize the control, the intensity of the energy crisis. But for that purpose, changing their behavior is very important. The mindset should be changed. We everywhere, and for that purpose, we have to create awareness in the people. Especially, it is very important to create the awareness in rural area and the remote area and everywhere. Whenever it's possible, wherever it is possible, we try to improve the awareness in that area. If the people educate, definitely their behavior is going to change, and they try to avoid the lot of or the misuse of the energy use, and they try to reduce the use of the energy whenever it is possible. So therefore, in this respect, these things are very important. Then we have install energy efficient appliance at home. That is also important. Especially we are using lot of things in our regular life. It may be a fan, it may be electricity, fridge, AC, mixer, grinder, and lot of things we are using. But whenever we use these things, we are not maintaining properly them. When we not maintain them properly, then it consumes a lot of energy. So if you want to avoid these things, definitely energy efficient appliances are very important, and purposely we have to take care about this. And if you can do this, definitely it will be help us to reduce the intensity of the energy crisis that you observe in all part of the India. Dear student, this was about our today's lecture. In this lecture, we discuss about the what do we mean by energy crisis, what are the reasons that are responsible to create the energy crisis condition in India, what are their effects, and how we can able to minimize the intensity of the energy crisis in India. Dear student, in next lecture, we are going to discuss another important problem or another important issue that we have in India, that was Chipko movement. It was a very important movement related to the environment conservation that we are going to discuss in our next lecture. So thank you. Goodbye.